91, yay. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce another outstanding, amazing alumnus from our ranks, Felix Jarrar, 2016. Speaking earlier today with Matan, he was talking about Felix and the giant mountain of plan work that he chipped away at and successfully completed. And from the day he walked out of Marlboro College, he has been a working musician and artist. He's been commissioned and doing original works, and one of which he produced immediately after leaving Marlboro was a part of his plan, which was an opera on the fall of the House of Usher. So, we are super privileged to have him here tonight with Savannah Green, Ryan Allais, and Miguel Vasquez. And Felix was telling us earlier that all of these people somehow came to him through Marlboro College and his plan work, which is also astounding. He will be premiering his opera, Ulster County.
Ulster County
Songbook. Yeah, yes, and he'll tell us more about that. So, welcome, Felix.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Maya. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Felix, and I'm a composer and a pianist. And I currently live in Brooklyn. So, to give a glimpse to what I'm going to do today, we're going to focus on my art songs. So, for my plan in Marlboro, I wrote one of my chamber operas, The Fall of the House of Usher, which was produced here, and then off-Broadway, the Domena Center in New York. And I've also written a lot of songs, in addition to that, about over 50 songs. And all of these songs in the program were written after I graduated from Marlboro. So it kind of shows an interesting evolution in another field that I pursued as a result of my plan work. And I have 3 sets of them that I'm going to share with you today. The first one is a set of 3 songs for soprano, and these are different songs. They're not from the same cycle, but together they kind of show the kinds of different ideas I've been working with in terms of text and themes. So the first song is one I just wrote this past November. It's called I the Dead Sea, and it's a setting of a text by my collaborator, B. Goodwin, who directed The Fall of the House of Usher during the world premiere production here and in New York City. Through my work there, we've been working together ever since. We've done 10 or 11 collaborations, and she's one of my dearest friends, and we just do a lot of song. And she sent me the text for I the Dead Sea in November, and I immediately fell in love with it because the Dead Sea was a place where my parents fell in love before they moved to the States. And so I was really inspired by creating a sonic place, a sonic sound that kind of evokes the sea and also romance, but it's also sad and kind of, it's not about my parents, but it was inspired by that. The second song is a song called Yellow, and it's a text that I actually wrote, an original text. And I wrote this last year, and it's about associating a person with a color, in this case yellow, and how yellow can mean sincerity and good knowledge, but it can also mean naivete and deceit, and examining the kind of dual-fold process of that. The last song on the program was actually the first piece I wrote after graduating from Marlboro. It's called Walking Past a Window. And this is actually from a larger song cycle called Songs of the Soul Beams, which I wrote with B. Goodwin. It premiered 3 years ago at BAM and was subsequently produced in a production at the Poisson Rouge in the West Village in Manhattan, in a really cool venue. And this is a song cycle I wrote dealing with grief. So during when I was graduating, my father passed away, and at the same time, B's grandmother passed away too, and so did the mother of the soprano on the production of Usher. So we wanted to work about community healing and grief, and Songs of the Soul Beams was the way to that. And so in Walking Past a Window, it's about B's grandmother and walking through the dirty floors of the hospital and giving up hope. So these 3 song cycles these 3 songs are going to set the tone for the rest of the evening, and Savannah is going to sing them, and we're going to do it right now. So I hope you enjoy the first set. So the next set on the program is actually a very special one because it is a world premiere, which I am doing just for you all. It is a song cycle I wrote as the last composition as a student at my master's program at Brooklyn College, and it's called the Ulster County Songbook. And it is a half-an-hour song cycle for tenor, baritone, and piano that I wrote the words and the music for. So this song cycle kind of encompasses a lot of themes in my life. I write a lot of pieces that are based on my autobiographical experiences and on queer themes, which I started with Fall, the House of Usher, where I examined a queer relationship between the friend and Robert Usher within the context of the Poe story. Then I've incorporated a lot of themes like that into my operas and my art songs. And in this piece, I look at an episode of my personal life where I had to experience heartbreak, which was kind of foreign to me because I'm usually just very focused on just doing music, which is my life and my passion. And I kind of had an individual who tried to take that away from me and told me that that wasn't okay. And this piece is about coming into my own and accepting confidence in my own decision-making process as a human, as an artist, and as a performer, because it was someone that I did perform with. The song cycle is for tenor and baritone because it shows two different sides of the story. You have the tenor who is longing for romance and the baritone who is longing for independence. And throughout the course of the cycle, they tell the story about this person and the different experiences around it. The epiphany comes after the duet in the middle, and it is about being in upstate New York and kind of finding peace with nature. And this was actually based on a true event because I was experiencing this, and I went to Ulster County for a gig with a band that I do a lot of recording work and contracting with, and it was really lovely just to get out of New York, get out of the city, and kind of just focus on myself and just what I enjoyed. And so the song cycle, while sad, is about kind of finding that inner joy. And it's a super personal piece. It makes me very vulnerable, but I feel like this is a safe place to share that. We've been workshopping it a lot. 2 songs were recorded at Carnegie Hall this past October. We're going to be doing more. And I'm really lucky to have Miguel and Ryan who are going to be here to sing it for you. So here is the Ulster County Songbook.
nothing could go wrong. But oh, how I was wrong, so wrong, so wrong. That August of 2018, John then took me on a vacation down south to see his family. In his neighborhood we traveled through many counties. That August of 2018, making music with John, it seemed nothing could go wrong. But oh, how I was wrong, so wrong, so wrong. That August of 2018. He then said adieu to me, leaving me to fend for myself without him in New York City. So long, so long. those I care about. I drown and crawl myself out of holes, holes of misery and despair, holes that just don't seem fair. Do other people feel how I do? Is not what I feel valid and true? Is not what loneliness did a mysterious hue to my heart at which a single touch turns blue? I do not want to love again. I need no reminders about the pain. I feel every day as a lonely man, or dwelling on its nothing gains. John said I had no respect, that's it's what he told me, and my heart broke. Together we would never be. John wrote I'm not well to perform at all, and to write songs for him. He said leave school this fall. He told me not to meet him when he came back to the city, and that made me cry. He said I'm not well, and the projects were done for, but he could not admit that he was the whole. He wanted me weak and helpless, just a burnt-out creator. He said I had psychosis. He said I who was the perpetrator. Go away, he said, when I made love with me. He was too callous to realize he was the one who hurt me. best friend was he. I'm moving on. I'm not who I used to be. Sanity enveloped my spirit that night in Ulster County.
So for the last set of the program, we're going to travel back from upstate New York, Ulster County, to Victorian era England with the poetry of Thomas Hardy. So one of the things I've been exploring post-Marlboro is the poetry of this Victorian giant. And I really resonate with him because of his kind of dark view on life and the way he uses romanticism, but also with not having kind of the religious connotation of a lot of the other Victorians. He was an atheist, and I sort of relate a lot to just the darkness in his poetry and in the sounds that he has in the poems. 2 years ago, I wrote a set for baritone called Songs of a Bygone Time that was based on a set called Poems of the Past and Present. And this past year, I decided to expand on my ventures into Hardy, and I wrote a set for soprano, and it's called Songs at the Coppice Gates. So I dove back into songs of the poems of the past and the present for material for this, and I found 5 that I really loved, and I strung them together, and the story that comes forth of it is one of immense darkness, but at the very end, there's a glimmer of hope. And to have that kind of trajectory, because the last Hardy song cycle I wrote before that did not have that, and I kind of wanted to have something more than like sad songs. So the first song on the set is called The Last Chrysanthemum, and talks about the last flower of the season and its bloom. And the second one is called Song from Heine, which is actually a translation of a Heine poem, and it talks about looking at a lover's picture who you are no longer in a relationship with or who has passed, and it's kind of delusional. And the third one is Hardy's translation of the inscription of the painter Raphael's tomb, which talks about grimness of death and how it is very final. The fourth song is a setting of the famous poem The Darkling Thrush, which is there's a lot of things going on in this poem, but for me, the one thing that I really took to heart and working with the text and writing it and also bringing it to life with Savannah was this narrator is in such a state of hopelessness, and they see a bird throw itself at joy, and it makes them even sadder. And it's about the coming of the new year, just making you extremely sad and gloomy. And at the end of the cycle, I decided to set this song. It's called Song of Hope, and it talks about a brighter tomorrow shining soon. And that's the sentiment I want to leave you all on. So then we'll come back on stage to sing this 5-part song cycle, and then we'll have a Q&A. Thank you so much for having me, and here we go with the last.
amazing. Thank you. Incredible. It's hurt my head. So, anybody have any questions? There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of all the genres that you can concentrate on, what is the appeal of art song that's so strong for you?
Art song with it because I also, so I work professionally as a collaborative pianist with vocalists, and I have a lot of colleagues, like my friends out today, and so it's really great to like work with them on the repertoire and then also write for them. So I write like songs specifically for like singers, and so I'm able to do that and also perform them, and it's like a very easy process to bring together into a finished product and like just to have ready a recital and for a lot of things because I do a lot of concerts as well, and it's always nice to have like songs around that I can offer on various programs. It's a nice music making opportunity with friends, and it's kind of just easy to do. We can just go to my apartment and rehearse on my piano. Sort of, yeah.
Also for me on this end, I mean, we train in art song to learn how to sing, how to get our technique together, you know, and we were singing songs from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and it's really great to be able to be premiering and singing songs of like our time now, which I think, you know, it's art songs in general are the postmark or a statement of like the history of the times, and so he's creating art that speaks to what's happening now.
Continuing off of that too, for me, it's art song's all about singing together with friends in a much more intimate setting. It's a lot cheaper, first off, than a pledge opera. But I've had so many experiences of doing like Schubertiades in a friend's house or parlor songs, and everyone just takes turns sitting at the piano and singing for each other, like the way it was meant to be sung. And I just think that's such an incredible community building aspect to classical music, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of the pop genre of classical music in a way.
Sure. There's no wrong, well, there is a wrong way to sing, but there's also, but I think it gives the singer more liberties to also put their own artistry on it, whereas when we're singing, you know, Mozart operas, we're expected to sing in a certain way. Or when you sing an art song, especially a new art song, you get to use your influences and kind of color the text in whatever way your instrument allows you to.
Felix, I'm curious what it's like for you when you go from composing something to hearing it performed, when it involves singers that are performing it with you collaboratively for the first couple of times. Is that something what's that like for you?
So it's always a variety of things. So very recently, especially in like the past year, I've really focused on also writing songs not only for a specific voice type, but also for a specific singer, because I know my friends' voice pretty well from just like working with them on their own repertoire, and so I can kind of write something and hear how like their different registrars are, how their color is, and it like so I kind of like have a sense of that, and I can just kind of email them and say, hey, I wrote this, and I think it's one that you can do, and so I kind of already have an idea in my head. For me, what's really exciting is like all the different ways to interpret kind of the accompaniments with the words and kind of bringing that to life, because we've had fun kind of playing with different ideas of how you could say something or how there's a point of view in the meaning of the text, because there's a lot of ways to look at stuff, particularly like in Thomas Hardy, or sometimes in a way of delivering the text like in my own for the Ulster County. So there's also that, and that's also what I don't expect, and that's what I find gratifying is like the interpretive process, because like working as a performer in art song, it's such an intensive relationship with singer and pianist, because we're both equal partners, and we both have the responsibility of like creating just like a world with just the two of us. And so there's all that, which is a thing of itself. So yeah.
Go ahead.
So it seems like, as I look at your path after Marlboro, it seems like you've been very successful and lucky and, and I guess fortunate is a better word, to really have a community of people, of talented people, with whom you collaborate on a regular basis, and you form a kind of a esprit de corps, and I wonder if you could share with some students who, some are going to do, arty things when they leave here, about your, how important that is to you, how you manage to form something like that. Or this is probably a good question to open to everyone.
Yeah, so hi students. So working in the arts, it's great to collaborate. And for my plan, that was, I couldn't have done it by myself because my plan was an opera in the fall of the House of Usher, right? It was a full production. So I'm a composer, I'm a pianist, and I wrote the libretto for it. But there was so many things. There's a director, there's the musicians, there's the singers. I had to coach the singers. I had to have a lighting designer. I needed to have actors. I did a budget. We wrote grants. I wrote it with Stan and Brendan and Matan and did all of that stuff. So collaboration was super important for me, and especially with the people that I was able to meet with after, while doing my plan and afterwards, I kind of met all of these people here through that. So I met Savannah through one of the string players who introduced me to Miguel, and then through various people, the director of the Fall of the House of Usher, I met Brian. So it's kind of very important to, I guess, stay in touch also and form collaborative friendships that are also artistic, and because it's really important to also enjoy the people that you make art with. At least that's the case for me, especially in something like opera where it's so cutthroat among singers already and also working in that environment. So it's really important to find people that you also connect with on a personal level, and it's also really important to go and pursue those opportunities, or to make it known. That might even be kind of being forward, or saying hey, we want to do a house concert, or a concert of art songs at a friend's house, or at a cheap venue in New York for fun. So it's kind of starting off with that, and then building a sort of repertoire and base off of that. I mean, there's a lot of other factors. For example, the program tonight was the result of actually several performances that have been going on. We count walking past a window for the past couple of years through various things. So it's important to kind of really get your work out to as many people as possible and really click, and also just be kind, professional, and courteous, because I found that gets you not only a long way as a person, but also as an artist. So yeah, I guess everyone can also share their thoughts on that.
And to piggyback off of that, from the short time that I've known Felix, I've only known you for 4 months now. Yeah. So the short time I've known Felix, he just has such a good way to piggyback. Networking is such a great tool for singers and artists, and building that network, keeping contact with that network, going out to a coffee every now and then, and I know that Felix in particular is really good at creating his own opportunities, where a lot of artists don't do that, and they stay at a certain level, but Felix is really good about going out and creating those opportunities for himself, for his own music, and I think that's really, really a key for his success that I've seen.
Yeah, and he's constantly writing new stuff. Every day, every month, he's writing a new opera, new music that he sends to me that I feel excited to learn, and I think that's a huge part of it as well, creating and putting it out there and not being afraid or crippled by perfection. That's a huge thing as well for all artists.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is community, and finding your community, and being a good colleague, which means showing up, knowing your stuff, holding your part, but also being nice to people around you, because you never know who might give you a call for that one big gig. I personally have gotten a lot of gigs that I didn't expect to get from someone that I worked with 3 years ago on blah blah blah, saying to someone who was looking for a person that had my skill set, and I'd get a phone call hey, so-and-so said you'd be good for this, are you available? And all of a sudden I'm like, all right, sure, let's do this concert at Carnegie Hall from a recommendation, or whatever. I mean, that wasn't the actual case for that, but it can happen.
And then Lincoln Center one.
It's being a good colleague, being a nice person while you're, you know, at work, if you have a grudge on your shoulder or a chip on your shoulder, whatever it's called, English is my second language, leave it at the door when you walk into work or when you go in to create with someone, and be open and be friendly and build a community, because we all want to rise together.
We need each other, it's hard.
It takes a team to rise up. You're not going to do it alone. And I mean, that goes for things outside of art as well. I mean, putting someone down will not get you. You're not going to do it alone. And I mean, that goes for things outside of art as well. I mean, putting someone down will not get you. You might feel like you got up one step at that moment, but it's together you're going to go up the mountain.
So Matan kind of stole my question, so I'm going to go in a different direction. I applaud you for your courage in writing Ulster County songbook. I have never experienced anything like that, and I'm sort of wondering, is that your process behind that? Was that something that you just absolutely had to get out, or did you have to get to a place before you felt comfortable to start building that and sort of follow up? What was it like for the two of you, Ryan and Miguel, to play halves of the same person? So,
do you guys want to start with this, because we've been starting with me, and then I'll...
Yeah. Well, I mean, even up to like 30 minutes before the concert tonight, we were discussing this exact thing. Just playing about, is this two different people that dated the same guy? Is it two different guys that dated each other that they can't, that one's like the independent, one's romantic? Is it the two different, the bipolarity of a person in two different elements of that? So there's a lot of different ways that we thought of looking at it. For me, we only collaborated really together this last week. Other than that, we've been learning it separately. So it was really interesting to see how it all wove together and how everything came to be. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun to put together, because it's the things that you go through as a gay man, you know?
Certainly, I have an ex named John from Connecticut. So, yeah, I was practicing the music at home, and my roommate, who has been honestly my roommate for like the last decade since undergrad, so he lived with my roommate named John from Connecticut. He walked in and he was just like listening. He was like, "So, John, your ex?" And I was like, "No, it's about Felix's John, his ex. I'm just singing about it." But that being said, it also kind of brought me back to that relationship, that breakup, and having to dig into what I tried to bury and pull from that emotionally as well. But I mean, it's definitely his story, and I think the way he said it was really interesting. It was very interesting because, yeah, there are kind of two voices experiencing the same breakup, and not until this week did I really get to like interact with that other voice that, you know, and I think we all kind of, even if we don't identify, really are in tune with our bipolarity, I can't say it. We have like those two voices that are always talking, you know, like, so it was...
I'm done, but I love him.
Right.
I'll go on. Oh, I don't need anything.
So the question about whether it was hard for me to write or not, so I really had to get this out of my system, because there was a lot of shit, as you heard, going on. I had to kind of work through it. I had to kind of Felix, are you okay? With myself and check in. One of the reasons why it's also two singers, he also said I was had multiple personality disorder, and so his kind of thing was that you were just call me crazy. He basically just called me really freaking crazy, which is kind of the whole point. So I'm kind of throw this concept at his face and so a lot of it is throwing his words back at him. It's not even throwing what I think. I mean, yes, I did call him a whore in the duet. That's what I think. But what he says about the whore, but what he said about me, actually dropping out of school, doing everything, quitting everything, that was actually super real, and also messing with family and stuff. It was really, there was a lot of toxicity, so that's also very real for me. And like even like the duets, like very like sing-song, kind of like contrast with like all the words that hit you like knives and kind of moving through it. And even like the big Ulster County song, which the baritone sings, is sort of like, yes, you're moving on, but it's also just like incredibly sad because you're losing like a friend. So it's like examining that kind of loss and also acknowledging it, but also moving on. And also writing him off.
Yeah.
And also kind of like believing that you can find something special again, which is also really hard because like one of the songs is called Burnout, the tenor sang, and there's like actually kind of a fugue in the middle of it that never finishes. Because it's kind of talking about how my inspiration is dying out with like the kind of interactions that I was having. And so it's also supposed to be like universal, like beyond the person I talk about, beyond all of that. It's kind of like just universal, I think, and can be related to a lot of different things while also kind of highlighting my own kind of personal narrative. So yeah.
Thank you.
This is not a question, it's a comment. I think we all agree we heard a lot of wonderful music tonight and wonderful performances. And then came the Darkling Thrush. And I thought, I really never have to hear another song after that. Do you realize what you achieved with that song? I mean, it's absolutely extraordinarily beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks. It's a really depressing song. Savannah and I, when we were first rehearsing it, we were kind of like at first like, fuck, this is sad. like we were just kind of taken aback while rehearsing it.
And I'm kind of new to New York. I'm from the West Coast, so for me, it was really, it resonated with my seasonal depression, and the song is like an expression of that exact experience, which I thought was so cool, and it did kind of take me over in some of our performances, which can be hard to come out of. Like, and the next song is a positive song, and I'm not quite ready to make that switch sometimes. But, yeah.
I forced you to, though.
Yeah, and then I feel okay because of that song.
Yes.
That's a real thing.
Right.
Do you ever experience a block in your creativity and how do you deal with it?
So that was the thing with Ulster. I was having a huge block because John was involved in creating a role in my master's thesis opera, and there was a huge block with that. I mean, so like during my master's, I actually wrote like 3 operas. One of them was my thesis, which was the opera Mother Goose, which is a drag opera. It's just done at Dixon Place. It's being done again in May in Midtown. But yeah, so I had a huge writer's block because of that. And it's sort of like the thing where I also just get really anxious because I also do have really bad anxiety, just like as a performer and like having a complex about that, and also doing it because I kind of always need to constantly write and also put out stuff so I can also try to achieve different things and do more things and like better myself. So when I have that, I kind of have to sort of take a step back, and usually that involves maybe doing kind of stepping away from something and then coming back to it, or even just kind of rethinking something, or also like really just simplifying it and making it easier to understand, because I have to deal with a lot of subjects and materials that are very esoteric and deal with a lot of things, and it's kind of hard to process. It's kind of like twofold. It's always like, oh, what's like an easier solution to this problem I'm having? So that's like one way to do it, because a lot of the time when I run into writer's block, it's because I'm trying to overcomplicate something that I can create in a much more simple setting, and that's what's worked for me.
Well, kind of to take off of that question, what you were talking about a little bit earlier, Savannah, like how do you get yourself out of that dark place? I mean, there's so much content and emotion in in the darker pieces, and they just resonate naturally. And how do you get out of that hole?
He forces me because the next song isn't happy, or it's trying to be happy. So sometimes I feel like it makes more sense for me to look at it like a blissful ignorance. Mm-hmm. Like, we're trying to chug along, life is hard, and we're just trying to stay positive. That's kind of how I looked at the song, and that felt more authentic to me. But I do like the sad music. I like the dark, sad music, and it's very cathartic to sing that with your body when you've experienced those things, and he put that experience to music so well. And the poem that was written hundreds of years ago, right?
Like, it was written at the turn of the century, 1899 to 1900, yeah, the turn of the millennium. Not the millennium, excuse me, the turn of the century.
So
Sorry.
it also connects us with that poet and his experience, and it helps you feel a part of something bigger, which I think is also why art is magical.
Yeah. Art is a reflection of the human experience, and sometimes we're in a dark place, but we have to show up to work, or show up to that birthday party, or show up to that wedding, and we have to put that smile on. But also, I mean, as actors, we're singers, but we're actors, we're storytellers. We kind of have to just continue that journey, whatever it is in the program or the music, and really be able to like swim into a dark place and paddle right back into that light when we need to.
Hi. Are you a different, sort of like a different person when you're writing versus when you're performing? Like a different storyteller?
Well, it's, yeah, I am. And that was also kind of a thing, like when I first came to Marlboro, is because when I always had to kind of separate it's gonna sound bipolar. I had to separate my identity as a performer and a composer, because when I look at a piece, I have to look at it kind of without any judgment as how I feel performing it, from like a structural standpoint, from a text standpoint, from looking at the way, so it's called prosody, the way you set the text, finding the climactic moment, is there more than one? I have to do a lot of things in my head and hear how I think the line's gonna go to like do the structure. And that's what I think about as a writer a lot too. And then filling that out harmonically, melodically, and with different things. And it's not always for piano. Sometimes it's like I do a lot of chamber operas, and those are for, so there's a lot of things to consider. And then when I'm performing, I sort of have to go like, okay, now I have this music in front of me, now how do I deliver it? And always interpret it, and always like have some sort of way to phrase it. And that's something I can't think about when I'm, composing it. I mean, but sometimes I might think about, oh, this might be fun to perform, but like, I never like try to mesh the two, because like I usually write away from the piano. I mean, I usually like improvise a lot, but then when I actually write, usually just like write away, and then I come back to it, and then I come with my collaborators, and then we bring that process. So it's kind of actually separate.
Yeah, I think performances are always, every performance is different, and you can never predict what will go right and what will go wrong, and the moments that are like, whoa, that was cool and unexpected, and then the moments that you've never made a mistake with this one phrase, and suddenly it slips your mind in a performance. And I think that's the cool thing about performances, that you have to be present with what's actually happening. You don't always know what's going to come up as an artist. And I think that you perform differently than when we rehearse together.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. And I do a lot of like rehearsals. So like I have a rehearsal mode, and then I have a performance mode. So kind of like it's because I just bring, I don't know, that's just like a me thing. I just kind of just bring out, because it's a lot. I think about a lot of things, and I'm kind of an emotional wreck, as Ulster County you saw. So like, I love to bring that out, but I've like learned to bring it out in like in a safe space of performance. It's great. In my personal life, it sucks. So like, kind of like balancing that. So yeah, I kind of just say that for performances. Sorry.
No need to apologize.
Yeah.
This is a question for everybody. What's a big musical or artistical influence outside of the world of opera, or an influence that people wouldn't expect influences you?
Great question.
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
I love black and white photography and art. I just love going to museums, and I feel really, that's an art form that I feel really connected to, and I don't know why, but I don't need to know why. It's like that and music. Music is very analytical, but when I look at art, I don't have to explain it. so much to myself, so it's nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that too. I think it's important to like have your side hobbies and things that you do outside of the art. Like, I'll study music really hard, and I'll do that all day, and then I'll come home and like I'll just want to sit in the quiet and just like meditate or paint. I've done a lot of paintings that I really enjoy releasing that stress because I don't have to worry about it. I just throw some Bob Ross on, relive my childhood PBS life.
I mean, a lot of different types of musicians have influenced me as a human. And outside of opera, I mean, I'm Dominican, lived in Puerto Rico, grew up in Connecticut. I have a crazy like life, so I have like all these weird different types, like, you know, from like Celia Cruz to Prince, you know, to pop in the music world. But I think, and that all influences me as a musician, but I think as a human and as a storyteller, I love nature and just like being outside when I can and just like literally just like listening to like the wind like rustle like stuff like that will just like influence a train of thought that I just have to go and I'll write. And just like will take, or like I love the ocean like the most. I grew up always kind of near the ocean, so just like the patterns of the waves helps like my breathing, and that's like me getting into that center place motivates me and lets me, my creative side really go wild.
So I'm going to answer this in two different ways. So I'm going to first do it in like an academic way. So like when I was, so one of the reasons I came to Marlboro was because I was interested in a lot of other stuff besides music. So I like studied a lot of biology. In fact, part of my plan was in the neurobiology of birdsong. So I really love science, and I did some programming. I did like experiments where I looked at woodpecker nests. I like did experiments with dogs where I had to like try their behavior and do stuff. And I loved like trying to put my brain in other kinds of modules of thinking because it really interested and excited me. Because I mean, I didn't always, like for music, I'm such a focused individual that I can literally burn myself out doing the same thing. So it's like very important for me to change that. So like being able to study broadly was like hugely important. And even when I was a master's student, I did a lot of like technology classes. I did a lot of like psychoacoustics and like stuff like that was like so great just to like study something completely different and like, yeah, and kind of feeds that. And then also I studied German a bit while I was here in Marlboro, and like that language training has served me wonders because I do so much work in theater and art song where I have to use that. So it kind of feeds back in. And then on a personal note, like I do so much work in opera that kind of, I don't listen to opera like at all. I just like listen to a lot of popular music, like top 40, like I'm a huge Britney Spears fan. I really am not that deep with what I listen to on my own. I guess that's because I kind of just always, when I'm working or I'm in a place, I'm in a space where I have that on. And then if I have a space where I have that off. And reading is also great for that. And so yeah, there's like a lot of things. It's like really important to have like outlets outside of art, even when you're like working as an artist, you know, like having some of us, like day jobs are a thing, like other things, like having those interests. Like there's a lot of reasons to have interests outside of the arts while pursuing a career in it. And that's a whole other discussion.
And I started out in trombone. I was a trombone player, so jazz was a huge influence my whole life up until my first senior year in undergrad. I had 3 of them because I switched to voice, and the rest is history after that. But the instrumental side of things really influenced me. And I mean, I was a marching band geek all the way up through college. And, a lot of those Duke Ellington, Count Basie, those big band swing, that had a lot of influence on my spirit. And now that it's really cool because I live in Washington Heights, which is just north of Harlem, so it's super cool to like walk past the Duke Ellington School and be like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Oh, there's the Hall of Theater. That's pretty awesome. So now it's this whole juxtaposition, because I've only been in the city for 4 months. So it's just, those kind of things feed you in different ways than just constantly